Hello everyone, this is Philip. I'm here with Bruce Omari.
How's it?
We're going to give you guys a quick post-flight update here. We went up this morning with Paradise Helicopters, and we were not blessed with Mick's company today.
Mick was feeling under the weather, so Phil sat in for him.
Yeah, you guys won't get any quality video from me though, unfortunately. You can just get some observations of what we saw out there today. So, what was your first impression, Bruce, from the flight?
Well, aside from the weather that we flew through, I think most of the conditions are kind of the same. The overflow near Couple Crater has kind of gone away, kind of solidified, and the channel has kind of reestablished itself. Volume in the rivers or in the channels seem to be a little bit lower, but Fissure 8 continues to be pretty active.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely kind of hard to see through the weather. We were kind of dodging the clouds and the rain pretty much the entire flight.
Yeah.
So we never saw everything all at once. We saw kind of small glimpses of everything. We're kind of trying to piece it all together. So it's possible we missed something, but what we didn't see any kind of overspills pretty much anywhere. I kind of saw where there had been overflows recently, but they're all solidified, even if they're still kind of hot and steamy. Yeah, that one by Green Lake, especially, we didn't see that. The lava channel down above Pohoiki seemed like it was the overplating surge where the lava that was on the surface wasn't visible anymore as being liquid. It was all kind of solidified on top. We're still moving through the tubes and going in the ocean. Still a whole bunch at Halanui, but also increased spots right around the Secrets and the Bulls and Shacks area.
Shacks.
Right.
Yeah.
So we did see that.
A lot of fingers going in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Pohoiki is still safe for now.
Yeah. I didn't see any glow or advance of that flow towards the boat ramp, even though we had seen some of the photographs yesterday that there was some activity, a little bit more Mauka there. It didn't seem like a guy anywhere near the boat ramp that I could see. Maybe the upper Mauka part got filled in a little more, but there wasn't really a threat. In the end, we couldn't have guessed that yesterday, of course. So we were once again relieved. I don't remember now if that was maybe the fourth surge that Pohoiki has survived now, and we just keep hoping that the flow building height on that side will improve its chances of staying around, right? But we just have to wait and see how that turns out, right?
Hopefully that height will protect it, but kind of scary too.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
work against it.
Yeah, because it's a wall. A wall can go both ways. It can stop flows on one side from going across, but if lava gets on the other side of the wall, then it's going to stay there. It's not going to come back across, and it's going to basically be funneled right towards there. So
exactly.
It's still a very precarious situation, and I think every surge that comes through, puts it at risk until something changes up slope. So what about go ahead.
You had a cool observation about Fissure 8.
Right?
Yeah.
So we were. I guess when I first got the view of the fissure, the first thing I noticed was there was like a dark spot in the middle of it. Yeah, like there was a crust that was forming in the middle, of the what I'm now going to call Lava Lake, actually, right? Because what we saw was convection. We saw the lava was bubbling up, kind of at near the mouth of Fissure 8, like the northeastern end. I'm not sure which direction exactly, northeastern. It was bubbling up there, and it was convecting. The crust and the whole surface of the lake was convecting towards the west and south, and then diving down right at the edge of that back edge of the cone. And where it was doing that, you got this kind of spattering effect, right? Because that's where the bubbles were getting convected down, just like Halemaumau overlook Lava Lake, right? That we've seen in the past, however many years, now. Especially the last maybe 3 years when it's been overflowing and visible from the Jagger Museum kind of thing. We've actually see spots where the crust goes back under, but it kind of sputters up where that happens. And that's what we saw, So
there were also some explosions that were tossing the lava actually above the rim of the Pu'u. So we hadn't seen that in a while. But really concentrated on the western side. And like you said, seeing that surface move toward the back was kind of unusual. I've never seen
Right.
that before. So,
First time we noticed it, yeah. So I mean, maybe
Yeah.
the past times that I've seen it, there was kind of bubbling up everywhere. You
Yeah.
couldn't distinguish, one spot of bubbling from another spot of bubbling because it was like 3 or 4 overlapping each other, right? It was just kind of one and the other, and it just couldn't really make sense of any one spot. Like, oh, that was a spot that was bubbling up. But today was very clear that it was one spot.
yeah.
It was a lot of lava bubbling up. Don't get us wrong, you guys. Like, there was a huge amount of lava bubbling up there.
Yeah.
It's just not shooting up in the air, right?
Yeah.
Except on that southwest side where it was going over the top of the cone.
Yeah.
But that's from where it was sinking back in that area there. What about the fire? You got a much better look at the area that got burned than I did. Did you see anything still burning? Anything smoldering?
Didn't see no, nothing still burning. I think the rain that was happening out there, it was raining really heavy actually this morning. So I think the fire's out, but that brush fire burned quite a bit of acreage out there. So hopefully I got some shots that can help out the homeowners, but we'll have to see. Had a lens die on me a few days ago, so yeah, struggling with a wide angle and a super telephoto. So
Well, we'll see what we can do. I'm sure that starting
We'll
with
see.
that,
yeah,
and anything else that you guys can get in the next few days, I'm sure everyone will appreciate. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you for trying to help those homeowners try to pinpoint. So you guys can look for that whenever Bruce can get to it, maybe tomorrow or later today. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make any promises for you. So the other thing that I was looking for was any changes due to the earthquake everyone felt last night. So at 10 o'clock last night, there was a 4.1 earthquake. It was centered under the south flank, a little bit south of Nepal crater, down in an area that's the kind of the base fault, the area that goes underneath the whole south flank volcano. So very similar to where the 6.9 happened. What was it now? Almost 3 months ago?
yeah.
3 months ago now, we had that
months ago.
6.9. Yeah, so around that time is when we, that area is essentially where that earthquake happened today. And what was unique about that one was how it was felt, fairly widespread across the southeast part of the island.
Yeah.
So we know people in Volcano felt it, but not as strongly as they did the summit collapse events. I felt it up in Fern Forest. Here in Hilo, you felt it.
I felt it too. It's kind of like a rolling earthquake, and it lasted quite a while, 15, 20 seconds, maybe longer.
Yeah, that's really interesting because where I was in Fern Forest, I felt like a quick, sharp jolt that might have lasted 1 second, and that was it. So one thing that we're hearing is that everyone has very different experiences of how they feel these earthquakes, right?
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
So I see people online trying to maybe characterize the size of it by how it feels, and that may be a fool's errand because it might depend a lot on the local geology of like what's under the house or the spot where you're standing. Are you standing in a giant pile of sand, or are you standing on a big solid piece of rock? That make as much of a difference as anything else. Like is your house up on Poston Pier or on a slab might matter also. Those kind of things. As much as anything else. So yeah, that's Fisher. We talked about Fisher 8. We talked about the fire. We talked about ocean entry. There's no spillovers. So we didn't see any change in the vent. I didn't see any cracks anywhere around the outside of the thing. We haven't seen that in a while. So the cone looks stable. In fact,
Cone looks stable. Yeah, and you also noticed that that area to the northwest of that rock.
right.
That
Yeah.
area kind of looks solidified, crusted over a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, the levels in the channel were down a little bit enough that there have been videos you guys have maybe seen of the area where the surge is visible, kind of from Leilani Boulevard, where there's a big rock that kind of is a prominent landmark in the middle of the channel, and normally lava goes on both sides of it. So when you're viewing from Leilani, you see lava coming in front of that rock, right? So if you were to have gone there this morning, you wouldn't have seen that because that part between Leilani and that rock was crusted over and was not, it was red and glowing through the crust, but it wasn't moving red like the other side of the rock was, actual open flowing channel. So that was interesting, yeah?
Yeah, that's a change from yesterday or the day before.
Right. So, yeah, that's what we got. I have some of my cell phone pictures if you want to look at them, or is that Is that inappropriate?
No.
All right, so let's see. Let me bust out the iPad here and let me see what we got. Guys, let's see here, the few that I got. So I don't think I showed you guys any of these from yesterday, so maybe I can quickly show you guys some of the photos from yesterday, and we can, Bruce wants to comment too if he can. But these pictures are from Scott Wilson, and let's see if I can get any spot without any glare. I don't know. Well, it's pretty bright out here. There, that might be the way right there. All right, so this is a photograph that Scott took yesterday afternoon, and this is an area around Green Lake, Green Mountain. Maybe I can... Is that going to work? Yeah, that'll work. So there's Pukapoho, right there. There's the edge of it right there. And this is downriver, so there's the ocean entry up there. And here's where we had that kind of bottleneck where the spillover happened, that we were looking for that same area spillover today, where in the next photograph, this actually starts igniting the forest at Green Mountain a little bit over here on the side. So let me see if I can see that view. So now we're looking back up the channel. There's a bend. Here is Pukapoho, and there is that area of the spillover we're looking at, and there is a fire that's kind of burning on the edge of Green Mountain. You guys can see the extra lava from the surge is over top of the channel, doing this overplating, as the USGS calls it. And it had kind of split a little bit here in its earlier photograph, mid-afternoon. So at this point, we don't see any glowing red anywhere outside of the pulse. Is kind of, well, I should stop calling it pulse. It's just a natural thing to say, but it's the surge front is coming all the way over here to the to this point, and hasn't got any farther. And then as we progress through his images, so there is that burning part of Green Mountain once again, at that bottleneck. But today that was all crusted over, and everything was flowing back to the channel as if nothing had happened there, in fact. So there's that. That's, whoops. Keep going through. Here's a view from the ocean entry. So you guys can see it's a little bit darker now. I believe Scott has at least 3 different flights that he was posting photographs from. But there's a main channel. You can see the tube going to the ocean entry is still active. Lava is still coming out there all along the ways. And in fact, all the way where we're talking about over here at Shacks and Bowls, they're actually, even last night, we started to see some of this little bit of activity. It was more later that night, and then equally more today. But you can see those first signs of it coming through there. So there's a similar thing, slightly different angle. Keep going. So here's a nighttime photograph, which is the one that was maybe of most concern last night, because by this point, the flow that has filled the channel is now pushed out the slope. You can start to see glowing edge all the way out here, over here, and then actually there's more on this backside over here. You can't see it in this photograph quite as well, but here's the ocean entry in this view up here. So we're looking down, and Pohuiki would be off the picture in this direction. So this lobe was the one that was possibly threatening it. There's a different view again. You kind of see the north edge of it, so how wide this thing is. The actual channel, lava is going over top of it, spilling out in this area. But the real flow is actually from here all the way around to all the way to there. That's like this big fan of it, and there's this big thick crust on top, and lava's feeding to the middle of it. Right? We talked about this jelly sandwich analogy before, and it's kind of leaking out the side over here, all along that edge, and along this edge over here too, and that edge over there. But this one, much more easily than in either direction. So by this morning, when we saw the ocean entry, we didn't see that edge active anymore. That surge had kind of passed. So this one is actually from my cell phone today. So you guys can get much better quality photographs from Bruce later on. These are all going to be a little bit blurry. But my nice camera was giving me issues, so this is what I got as a cell phone for you guys. That's how it goes. But the reason I brought up this one is because if you look at, so here's Pukapoho back here. Here's our bend, right? Here's our little bays of spillover areas where the shipwrecked lava berg area that you photographed, Bruce, over here. And down over here is the area of that spillover we're just looking at, right? So if you kind of zoom into that area, yeah, it's kind of blurry, but you guys can see the channel is established all the way through. And the silvery spots, a little bit of fume still, but it's basically cooling fresh lava, but all solid by now, and with the flow established back on this way through there. Right, so I don't have too many of these, but I'll show you guys the ones that I kind of quickly picked out. This is a view once again of the bend, right, and you can start to see here, this is the beginning of the burn area, I believe, kind of right through here, right, so you can kind of see some of this darker area. Am I looking at this right, or is that a cloud? Oh, sorry guys, I got an interruption there. There might be a better one actually can see that a little easier. But here's a view of the ocean entry from above. I'm sure Bruce's photo of this is going to be amazing. It was amazing to see just kind of in a regular light, but you guys see what a cell phone does. You can imagine what a professional can do. And there is Fissure 8. So here's what we're talking about as far as the geometry of it. Right here's where it's really bubbling up, is this area right here. It's convecting from this area to over here, and where it's sinking in, so there's a crust forming right between it right there. And on this edge, where it's sinking in, this thing is spattering up and kind of landing up on this upper rim and actually kind of splashing over the top of it occasionally right through there. Right, so here we have a little bay we've been calling Mini 8, and it's full of lava. It's not all the way full, but it is more full than it was a couple of days ago before that surge, right, when we could see a huge cliff on the side of it. It's not as full as when we saw it the last time I flew with you, Bruce, where it was spilling over the top, so it's somewhere in between those. But you can see there's actually a crust on this back edge of it. Kind of shows, that the flow is not as much as it could be, or that crust would all be broken up by the circulation in there. And likewise, looking down the channel over here, here's that big rock. I'm not sure, I think this one may be right here. That kind of dark blob right there. And normally lava kind of splits and goes around this side over here too. And actually we see that this little wedge over here is all crusted over as well. So let's see, I'm showing me low network connection. I'm just gonna keep going. So here is my blurry view of Pohoiki, just so you guys who are checking on these photographs every day can see that there is the boat ramp, and the edge of the flow over here hasn't really, it's still very close, but it hasn't really moved. There's no activity really along the edge. Here you kind of see some smoke right up in the area right up here, right? So that's probably the area that moved was in here. It's uncomfortably close to the boat ramp, of course, but it kind of just pushed it out and stalled once again right through there. So there's Pohoiki once again, and I just kind of cut out you guys, and there's a house, and similar photograph as you guys have seen the last few days. Not much changes on that lower part of the boat ramp over there. And I try to kind of see where else that flow might be. Here's I believe the Fissure 18 flow that comes into the edge of this flow towards Pohoiki, being in that way. And I can see a little bit of burning and smoldering on the edge, like kind of there and a little bit here. But that's kind of what we saw of the edge of that front where it actually could have moved. This is the area right by the bend with lava shipwrecks again, lava berg shipwrecks, and lava is actually in these bays, but they're not moving, so it seems like it might have filled them recently and it was kind of dropping back down again, right? Because most of the flow was kind of through here. There was no motion. This is almost all solid crust here, and this whole side over here. And let's see, that doesn't show us much of the area of the fire, but I believe this one does, right? So. It's blurry also, but I believe the fire started on a steep spillover somewhere in here.
Started right over here.
Oh, that's right here, because there were two lobes. There was this kind of northern lobe, right?
Yeah.
And then a little gap. And then here's where it took off to the south and probably got fanned by the wind this way. Les Peterson, Hawaii Tracker, suggested that this part of the fire, because it was burning in the early morning, when there was no wind, was able to kind of move to the east a little bit, and then when the wind picked up, it actually went kind of fanned all the way as far as we saw it. And this is the best photograph I have because the clouds were blocking everything beyond that. So I know that you tried to get some better shots, and I didn't get that pass of the aircraft at that time. So we'll wait on that documentation when it's available. So this is a view looking back up at Pukapoho up here from the ocean entry going down. And you can see that kind of surge of lava that was overplating on top of it is now all solid. It's definitely flowing through the tubes all through here, but you can see that the surface surge is basically past when it's photographed. This was the first photograph I had taken today. And yeah, that's it for the pictures I got for you guys. Hopefully that kind of covered it. We talked it through. We kind of talk through the photographs.
Yeah.
Did that kind of stir up anything else you wanted to add, Bruce, as far as what we saw?
No, I think that covers it as far as what I saw.
Right? Yeah, we always find more things when we study the pictures later, right?
Yeah.
So we might come back with something for you guys later on that we didn't notice quite yet, But for now, that's what we got for you guys. So thanks, Bruce, for joining me.
Yeah.
Thanks
for joining us on the flight.
Yeah, and thanks to Paradise Helicopters, as always, for making this possible, the documentation of these areas and of the homes that you guys care so much about, and, you know, all the rescues they've done and everything they've done. You know, I know that you know, I keep hearing that it's not easy for the landowners, you know, to deal with all the changes they're dealing with, you know, eruption, you know, housing situation, restriction of movement, all that, and then, you know, the noise doesn't sit well with them either, right? But, you know, there's a lot going on, and, you know, we know that we hope they understand that this is a really important service that we need to do, that we need to document what's going on. You know, things are changing on, you know, not just daily basis, but hour to hour, right? We go up some days and we miss a whole bunch of things that happen in between. So, you know, in the end, this will be important information that we can all look back on, and, you know, this will all end, and, you know, that's what we have to look forward to, unfortunately, is, you know, for now we have to deal with this, and I think it's awesome that Paradise is, you know, working with you guys and allowing you guys to go so often to really provide this continuous timeline. That's the biggest thing, you know, when I'm looking at these photographs and trying to piece what happened historically, is you need to have it often enough that 3 things didn't change between one photograph and the next. So you have to go up, if possible, almost every day. You know, some days it's not possible, some days the weather is crappy, right? But, you know, in the end, like, you know, it's a very important service, and I just wanted to make sure, you know, everyone knows that we support that, and give them that shout out.
Yeah, that documentation is important, not just for the homeowners suffering through this disaster right now, but not only for this generation, but for generations to come. I mean, this is a historical event, and we need to do it. We need to study what's happening and document the process. So, yeah, Paradise has been a very important partner in this documentation, and appreciate them very much.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Paradise. So, yeah, thanks, you guys, for joining us for this morning update. You know, I know that Hot Seat didn't do their usual thing today because of their feeling under the weather.
Yeah.
You know, we're under the weather now, too, and we're in the weather, so maybe just as well.
Yeah.
But we're happy that you guys were able to see at least this version of it,
Yeah.
and we'll give you guys another update as soon as we have more to tell you. Right?
Okay.
So, do our sign off together, Bruce?
Yeah.
So stay classy, Puna.
Aloha.
Aloha.